What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully you're having a great day, great start to your day as we are. Brandon Stoll on the other side. I am Stephen Priest Jr. Time to get to a lot of good stuff today. We got some Nuggets on the docket, obviously. We got Denver Broncos draft talk as we inch closer and closer towards the draft. What are we now, 11 days away? So it's coming up quick, and I'm getting a little nervous. Like, who are we gonna pick? Who's gonna end up on a 7-win team next year? No, they better not be a 7-win team. But let's get started with the Nuggets. As you can see in the title, can the Nuggets still catch the top 3 seed in the West, or top 3 seeds, I should say? It's an interesting conversation because, last week's doom and gloom podcast, when Jamal goes down, it's like no one even cares. I don't even want to watch anymore. Even though I've reluctantly watched the last 2 games without him. I just hate watch it. I don't even get invested anymore. I'm just angry. Then Monte goes down, and I'm like, of course. But there's still a really good basketball team. And I think that's what kind of gets lost in all this is like, you get the sense that when you lose one of your star players, it's like the world is falling, the sky is falling, it's over, which in a sense it kind of is for the Nuggets championship hopes. But I mean, they're still really freaking good. Like, they still have Jokic, who's an MVP candidate. They still have, MPJ, who continues to just put up 20 and 10 every night. He's just good for 20 and 10 every night. He just rolls the ball out. Boom, 25. I think he had 25 and 10 last game. You still have Aaron Gordon. Monte Morris, we'll see what happens with the hamstring. But, I mean, he's steady Eddie. That's a guy you can rely on in the starting lineup for 10 to 12 points. He's not going to make the tough shots Jamal makes, but he's not like it's not Campazzo starting. I'll put it that way, even though Campazzo, I think he's getting better. He's playing better as of late, especially shooting the ball. But they still have a really talented team. And when you look at the standings right now, Utah sitting at 1 still, but little shakeup to their plans. Donovan Mitchell goes down with an injured ankle. Now things are a little bit interesting for them because I would assume he's probably going to miss at least the next 5 to 10 games. I think he didn't play last night. I don't think Rudy Gobert played last night. But, I mean, is that enough to drop them to the 2 seed? And then we all know what's happening with the Lakers. Obviously, Anthony Davis is more on track to be back than LeBron. But, I mean, they're probably both going to be available for like the last 10, 12 games. So who knows how they finish. I believe they lost. Did they lose last night? I think they lost last night.
They beat Utah.
That's who they played. They beat Utah. Okay. But, of course, Utah didn't play Gobert or Donovan Mitchell. So it's kind of a wash there. And then you have the Clippers, who are kind of up and down. They played the 76ers the other night. Apparently Kawhi Leonard didn't play, so I don't understand that, but we're still doing load management there. So it's doable for the Nuggets. I almost said the Broncos. It's doable for the Nuggets. You're 1 game behind the Clippers, and I'm curious to see who the Clippers.
They're 2 games behind the Clippers, but 1 in the loss column.
1 loss, 2 wins. I always get confused. So, is it losses that overtakes, or is it wins?
It's just based on percentage.
Okay, that's how they do it? Okay.
I think so. At least the way it looks like. I don't know. I guess I don't know. The Nuggets have 3 less wins and 1 more loss.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like they would have to. So they've played 2 less games, so they would have to win those 2, and then they would still be a game out. So,
and I'm looking at the Clippers schedule. I mean, Minnesota, that should be a win. Portland could be tough, but most likely a win. Memphis, win. Houston, win. New Orleans, you never know. Phoenix, that's an interesting one. I think if you're a Nuggets fan, you're rooting for Phoenix in that one. Then they have the Nuggets one more time, and I think the Nuggets we're tied season series.
Yeah, that's going to be the tiebreaker.
So that's going to be a huge game on Saturday, May 1st. And depending on if the Nuggets can hold pace, but Phoenix, Denver, New Orleans, Portland, the Lakers on May 6th, which by that time I would assume Anthony Davis and maybe LeBron are back at that point. And then that's really their toughest games outside of that. I mean, if they decide to rest in those last 4 games against Toronto, Charlotte, Houston, or OKC, then I guess maybe you could see a loss. But
Jeez, that's
they
a
really have
cakewalk.
5 games that you could say could turn into a loss. And what do the Nuggets have remaining? Gosh, we're coming down this stretch run so quickly. It is crazy how fast this season has gone. Memphis, they're tough. That'll be tomorrow.
Memphis is playing really well. They just
Yeah.
I think they barely lost, or no, they beat. Who did they? They won last night. They
I
beat.
don't know if
they beat
I
Milwaukee.
just know they barely lost to Dallas the other night off of Luka's Hail Mary.
Right, and then they beat
three-point shot.
Milwaukee last night with.
Did they really? Oh,
yeah,
without Giannis.
No,
Did
but
Giannis play?
Giannis played.
Oof.
They crushed Milwaukee. Milwaukee ended up coming back a little bit, I think, because I remember they were up by like 20, and then I looked later and they were up by like, I don't know, like 9. I was like, oh. But yeah, Milwaukee, they made it close a little bit, but it was pretty much a blowout. They won.
Chris Middleton, 5 of 13. Would you look at that?
Yeah, that's like a Paul George line.
Oh
Memphis Memphis won 128-115. So.
Yeah, I mean that's a team you can't overlook. Now, granted, there's still that's a game that the Nuggets should win, but we know with the Nuggets, any given night, you don't know what you're gonna get. Portland, Golden State, who just kicked their faces in a few nights ago.
Golden State's a terrible. Like I said, Golden State and Portland, those are 2 bad matchups for Denver. The way they play and the way they can shoot, and obviously you have Steph and Dame, it's just bad matchups. Without Gary, it's a terrible matchup.
I still think those are doable.
Well, you should be able to win. Yeah, the
matchups,
Nuggets should win that series. I'm
but-
just saying it's a bad matchup.
right? Yeah, it's going to be tougher to guard those guys. But I mean, that's what you have Campazzo for.
Yeah.
I'll give Campazzo credit though. Like, yes, he makes a lot of plays where it's like, oh, you're tough to watch right now. But he's been shooting the ball really well as
he
of
has
late.
been shooting a little bit better. Yeah.
His defense is, I mean, there's one thing you can't question about the guy. It's his defense and his effort. His defense, granted, he gives up a lot in height, but he puts pressure on guards. He frustrates guards. He frustrated John Wall the other night. He accidentally hit John Wall in the face, and John Wall had some words for him. But that's what you can expect for him, and I like that. I like that he makes it tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of other guards, you know, they give these guys space. He's not afraid to challenge the Chris Pauls and the Devin Bookers and Donovan Mitchell. He'll, as Scott Hastings likes to say, he'll get up in your chili. And he does. So it's you have to really take the highs with the lows with Campazzo. But I mean, you got Portland, Golden State, Houston, that should be a win. Memphis, again, you never know. New Orleans, you never know. That seems to be like a trap game for the Nuggets the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And with Zion, I mean, they almost won the last time. I mean, that dude's just a monster. Toronto, who kicked the Nuggets face in the last time they played.
That's inexcusable. You got to beat Toronto.
Yeah, there's no excuses for that. And then you have a stretch of Clippers, Lakers, May 1st, May 3rd, at Utah, which I would assume Donovan will probably be back for that. Brooklyn, and then Portland, and then in between those sandwiched is Charlotte, Minnesota, Detroit. So there's about 7-8 games to where it's not a guarantee that the Nuggets could win. Could they win? Sure. Should they win? Maybe. At least for most of those, but I don't know. Getting past 3 is going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know how they're going to do that.
I mean, yeah, they could. It depends on. Look, the Clippers aren't going to be resting guys here down the stretch, even though they rested Kawhi, whatever. It's not. The Clippers don't want to have to play the Lakers in the first round, right? So the Clippers are going to do everything they can to win these games and hold Denver off. Obviously, the Jamal Murray injury helps the Clippers a lot. So I think it'll go At this point, I think it goes Phoenix, Utah, Clippers, 1, 2, and 3, and then I think Denver and LA will just swap. That's kind of what I'm thinking happens. But we'll see. I mean, look, credit to LA and those other guys for keeping them afloat while LeBron and AD have been out, because they went from what, 3 to 5, that's it, and they're only a game and a half behind Denver for 4. Like that's pretty impressive. I thought they would fall to like 7. I thought they'd be in that group at 6, 7, 8, and then try to get back up to 5. But they've played really well. I think they will grab the 4 seed. I think Denver falls to 5, maybe even 6. So I don't think. Look, the only way I could see the Nuggets even getting close to 3 or holding on to 4 is if MPJ just kills it the rest of the year. I mean, he like averaging close to 30 and 12 a game. That's the only way, because they have talent, sure, but looking at those teams that they have to play, those are important games. You have to beat the Lakers. You have to beat the Clippers if you want to stay at 3 or 4 or get up to 3 or stay at 4. You have to beat the Lakers. You cannot lose that game. You're going to have to beat Utah. You're going to have to beat Memphis twice. So, they're probably going to give up a game down this stretch where they lose to Atlanta or whoever the hell they play. That's a terrible team. So, they're gonna give up a couple of those games. So I just look, for me, the rest of the year, it's what does MPJ give them, and how does MPJ develop? That's really all I'm looking at for the rest of the season. But yeah, I mean that's the only way they get up to 3 is if Jokic puts up his MVP numbers even better, like he did the other day against Houston. He's going to need to average 29, 16, and 7, probably more assists than that. And MPJ is going to average, I mean, he put up 21 and 5 against Houston. He's going to have to get up to 30 and 10, in my opinion, if they want to get up to the 3 seed. So
yeah, he's going to have to play out of his mind for them to get to 3. And it's funny because I was just looking back at our prediction for Crumble. I mean, listen, I'd rather Jamal be healthy than win
by
Crumble.
the way, you jinxed the hell out of that one. You said you wanted someone to get hurt so the Nuggets could start losing. That is your fault. That's all you.
That's false.
No,
that's just blatantly
that is
false.
No, it's on the podcast.
I hope Jamal just, sits out a few more games.
Yeah,
you
know what, he should have.
If
he would have listened, if they would have listened to me, he would have never torn his ACL.
You meant you wanted him to get hurt and stay
hurt. No.
There you go.
No.
So you got your wish.
I said he should stay out. Stay out. Stay.
I never said I wanted anyone to get hurt.
Yes, you did.
At least I don't remember.
Yes,
did I say that? I might have said that.
Yes,
I might have said that, but I didn't mean it. But listen, I'd rather have Jamal healthy than win Crumble.
No,
but
you didn't mean that the other podcast, a couple podcasts ago.
Well, that's because I wasn't thinking. I said things I didn't mean in the moment. It's kind of like you don't know what you have until it's gone. And I miss you, Jamal. I miss you. I love you. Come back.
Yeah, now do we want to trade him?
No. Not really. I mean, if it's for James Harden, then yes. Yeah, but for anybody, no. For anybody else, no. But I'm looking at it, 43 wins or less, back in play for me. They're sitting at, what are we at, 36 and 20? So in the remaining 16 games, would I be frustrated if they went 7 and 9? Yes. Would I then immediately be happy that they went 7 and 9 because there's a silver lining? Yes. So I could possibly get the best of both worlds here. The Nuggets are still a playoff team. Maybe they win a first round series, and I get another free thing of Crumble.
If they go 7 and 9, they fall to 6 at the best.
And then at that point,
And then you're probably gonna have
okay.
to play in those playing games, and then someone's probably gonna get hurt in the
No,
playing
it's
game.
7 through 10 is
Well,
play.
I know, but they could easily fall to 7. They go 7 and 9.
They won't fall that far. They won't fall that far. But okay, say they do get to 6, right? So what do we think
Well,
it would
look,
be?
Dallas
Do you
is
think
only
Phoenix is gonna hop Utah as the 1 seed?
yes.
Okay, so Phoenix is 1. Then, is Utah gonna stay 2? I think they stay 2.
It's hard to that team without Mitchell is
I don't think he'll be on that long.
right. That's the thing. I don't know. I'll say Utah stays at 2.
And Clippers stay 3.
Yeah, and I say Lakers go to 4.
LA gets 4. Who gets 5? Portland.
No, Denver.
Okay. Thought they were
'Cause-
going to 6.
Oh,
So
if
then
they go
Portland-
if they go 7 and 9.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they go 7 and 9, they drop to 6, maybe even
Okay.
7. I mean, Dallas is only 5 games back from them. I mean, it's not.
So let's say they get 6. So Phoenix, Utah, LAC, Lakers,
They'd have to play
Portland.
the Clippers in the first round.
Denver. They would have to play, yeah, and they would get up for that. But if you won that,
Without Jamal.
yeah, if you won that though, then you get the 2-7. So
Oh, we're
that's
beating Utah. I don't care if Jamal's playing or
Utah,
not. They're beating
Dallas.
Utah.
You know, then you get Utah.
But they're
So-
not. They won't get past the Clippers without Jamal. Honestly, I think best case, maybe you do start losing. I'll give you the $10 crumble. Grab that 7 seed. Play Utah in the first round. I think that's your best chance.
Play Utah.
That's
then you
that's your
play-
best chance to win a first round series if you don't get a top 3 seed.
Maybe.
Because without Jamal, they can beat Utah, they can beat Dallas, they can beat Memphis, maybe Portland. It depends.
I don't know if they can beat Utah anymore without Jamal.
I think they can. I think a lot of teams can beat Utah though.
I think it would if
So,
I had to choose it now without Jamal. With Jamal, I would have said Denver in 6 or 7. Now I'd say Utah in 6 or 7.
Oh, with
Probably
Jamal, I would have said 5.
Wow.
Without it's a 7-game series.
I don't know. But then
that-
again, we
that's
don't
your
know
best
how
chance.
MPJ is going to play. He's
That's
really
well,
the key
and
now.
that's what I'm banking on.
So,
I-
he's the key.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he would play really well against Utah.
Maybe. But now it's now how it's funny because we were talking about with Jamal, it was, you know, the Nuggets are going to go as far as Jamal can take them in the playoffs. You know, Jokic is going to get them there. But if they want to get anywhere far, it's going to be Jamal. Now it's Jokic is going to get them there. Now it's on MPJ to get them.
Yeah,
over the hump
22-year-old
and-
kid. Great. Look, and it's not just, and I said this in the last podcast, it's not just, okay, we got to cover Jamal's 20 to 25 a night, 5 rebounds and 5 assists. That's all we got to do. It's not that simple. What Jamal does late in games, that's the main concern. And everyone's like, well, we got Jokic, he closes. But a lot of those times when Jokic is closing, they're running 2-man game. He's running a 2-man game with Jamal. And the reason why that 2-man game works so well and it's hard to do with anyone else is because Jamal can do everything. Jamal can take the ball, drive, get to the rim. He can take the ball and make a tough mid-range shot. He can take the ball back up outside, take a step back, tough 3, and hit that. You know what else Jamal can do? He could take the ball and bounce pass right to Jokic for a layup. Jamal knows they have the chemistry together to where they know what to do, and Jamal can do everything. So let's swap that with MPJ. Well, MPJ's not as good of a ball handler. So can MPJ not only drive to the rim but make the right pass to Jokic?
Well, the 2-man game, it's
I
going to
don't
be
know.
it's going to be Monte and Jokic.
Okay, well then
now.
let's then go to Monte then. Monte can't make the same shots as Jamal. So if they're playing that two-man game as a defender, I'm backing off of Monte. I'm more willing to help on Jokic, and I feel like I can get back to Monte. If that's Jamal, you have to stay on Jamal. Because not only can Jamal get to the rim at 6'5" and dunk on you too and make a tough layup or do a 360, right? He can also step back 5 feet behind the three and drain a three on you. Even with you in his face. With Monte, he can't do that. So I'm more willing to step back off Monte and help Jokic. That's what makes that two-man game so special. Mm-hmm. It's not just because Jokic is so good. Yes, Jokic can do everything as well. The big thing is Jamal can do it too. Jamal can make so many tough shots to where as a defender you have to respect that. And that's why a lot of those times Jokic gets a wide open shot or Jamal gets a wide open shot. You're not going one-on-one and trying to make a tough shot. Now a lot of times Jamal does it to himself, but there's many times where in those late game situations they're getting open shots. Why? Because as a defender, you can't just double. So then it's like I feel like if you're gonna run the two-man game, I feel like your best option is probably MPJ because he can still do a little bit more than Monte. You have to respect his outside shot. The problem is him as a handler, as a ball handler, it doesn't really work. So you don't have anyone to run that two-man game. So now instead, what they're going to have to do, which they're not used to doing, is in those late game situations, if you really want to win these games, I'm putting the ball in either Jokic's hands and saying go one-on-one, but again, it's hard to do that with the center. Now, Jokic is slightly different, but him being able to create his own shot outside, really all he has is Somber Shuffle, which I will take it, but it's a tough shot either way, right? Or you're going to have to go put the ball in MPJ's hands and let him hit a tough mid-range shot or a three. You're going to have to go ISO ball because the two-man game won't necessarily work because all you're just really doing is doubling Jokic as a defender. It's not really, you're not having to really respect Monte's shot. Like, really?
Well, I think you're.
No, look, if he's wide open,
underestimating Monte a lot. He's not Campazzo.
No,
like, Monte can hit big shots.
Look,
he's not Jamal,
far as catch and shoot, yes. But
well,
as a defender,
that screen, he hits that mid range. I would say he's a very good mid range shooter.
Yeah, but I can get back to him is what I'm saying.
Well, sure, I
can show on Jokic. And then once Jokic makes that pass, I can get back and at least contest. If that's Jamal, I'm not willing to do that.
Sure. I think here's what I'll say. Obviously, yes, I agree with you that it's an easier thing to guard for defenses if it's Monte and Jokic versus Jamal and Jokic because Jamal presents more problems. He's just a better player. Everybody knows that. But I think what Monte can do, you can't just flat out leave Monte. Like the guard is still going to have to fight over that screen, or the big is still going to have to hedge somewhat. Because if you give him the elbow jumper, 8 times out of 10, I believe Monte hits that shot, if not 9. I also think Monte is better at Jamal than putting pressure on the defense driving the basketball. I think he's more willing to drive the basketball and attack a big than Jamal is, which I think will play into their hands a little bit. Again, it's still not Jamal Jokic two-man game because that's just special. But I think Monte, they have a good chemistry as well. MPJ, I just don't feel comfortable running a two-man game. Like if it's real crunch time, he's just not a good playmaker. But it doesn't mean he can't be. But I don't
your
trust
best
him
scorer
though.
Ball. At this point, he's your best scorer. So
exactly.
He
but
needs
that's
to...
why when you're in that action, you have him in the corner where Monte and Jokic are running that. So if they overhelp, you can hit him. I also think they're going to run more sets for MPJ, and we've seen it. I mean, they have no choice. They're going to run more sets for him. It's a lot of down screens, and again, people keep going under that screen every time, and he just hits the free throw jumper. I'm just like, why are you chase him off of that? Force him into the lane. Make it more of a tougher shot or a tougher attempt at the rim. But I they're gonna have to make adjustments. But here's the thing too. Like we put a lot on MPJ. It's like they'll go as far as he can take them. At the same time though, they're having guys like Will Barton and Aaron Gordon really step up. And I think a key sneaky one is Will Barton.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's gonna have to be 15 to 18 points per game. And he's been doing that. Give him credit. He's been doing that a lot lately. I mean, we went over his numbers last podcast, and he's been playing really well. They're going to absolutely need Will Barton to take pressure off of Jokic, off of MPJ, Aaron Gordon as well. But now they're at a point, like if this would have happened last year, if Jamal goes down, the Nuggets are screwed. They have no shot. Now, is it way tougher to win a first round series? Yes. Now at this point, depending on the matchup, will they maybe even be the underdog in a first round series? Probably. I still would expect them to win the first round series if it's any other team but the Lakers.
Even the Clippers?
I would say 7. It would go 7 either way.
I think as far as I think the Nuggets can get to 6, and that's about it. Like I said, I'm not worried about 3 quarters and 8 minutes. The first 3 quarters and 8 minutes. I'm not worried about that part. The Nuggets can win that part with the team that they have. I'm worried about the last 4 minutes because when you look back at those playoff games last season in the bubble, yes, Jokic hit some big shots, but the majority of those shots went to Jamal. He was their closer. He was that guy, especially against the Clippers. And well, in both, especially against the Jazz too. Now, did Jokic make the game winner in Game 7 against the Jazz? Yeah. But when the Clippers started to cut it to like 9 in that Game 7 against the Clippers, it was Jamal hitting a step-back 3 over Kawhi to seal it. So, Jamal hit those shots more so than Jokic because it's easier for him to create his own shot. It's easier for him to go one-on-one. You don't have to run a 2-man game for Jamal to get an open shot. This is why I've always said you cannot win a championship with your center being your best player because they are limited late in games. And even Jokic, as great as he is and as different as he is still limited. Not as much as like an Embiid, but he is. You need a guy like Jamal that can go one-on-one and hit tough shots late in games and have that mindset of, I can do that. I can hit this shot and have the confidence to do that. Does MPJ have the talent? Yeah, he does. But he's 22. If he was 27, 28, or even Jamal's age, 24, 25, and had those playoff experiences of having to make those shots, like Jamal did against San Antonio in Game 7, he hit the game-winning floater, or against Portland, having those experiences, that's what allowed him to do what he did last season. MPJ doesn't have any of that. He's not used to being in this role. So him doing that in the playoffs, you can't expect that. So if this was, whoever leads with 4 minutes left in the game wins, great. The Nuggets can do that. But with 4 minutes to go against Kawhi and Paul George, even if Paul George is hitting the side of the backboard, it's hard to do. It's hard to beat those teams, even against Donovan Mitchell. I mean, who was it that was matching every shot Donovan made? It was Jamal. Do you trust MPJ to do that? Do you think MPJ could do that at 22 years old? I don't. Not yet. Now, here's the benefit of this, right? Is that MPJ will get those experiences this year, which will make them even better next year and the year after when Jamal is back. So this is a good thing for MPJ because he's going to get those opportunities. At least I hope he gets those opportunities. He needs to get those opportunities if they want to get anywhere in the next 2 years, next 2-3 years. Because if you have 3 guys that are capable of doing that, you're Brooklyn. You're Golden State. You're OKC. You have you're better than what OKC had because James Harden wasn't ready when they made it to the finals in against Miami. It was really KD and Russ. So if you have 3 guys that are capable of closing like that, you're fine. But MPJ needs to get that experience. So that's the biggest thing. That's why I say when I watch all of these games, I want the rest of the, I don't know how many games we got. How many games are left? 16. I want every single one of those games to be within 5 points with 4 minutes to go.
I don't know if I want that.
They
especially against like Toronto. I don't know if I want that.
MPJ needs that experience. If they want to get anywhere this year, he needs that experience now.
Yeah, but I mean it's different in the playoffs though.
Well, I know. I know,
saying,
but what I'm saying is he has zero experience.
Well, sure.
He needs something. And then in the playoffs, he will definitely get that experience, right? But
sure.
But I want to see at least a couple games where 4 or 5 minutes ago, it's a 4-point game. Maybe you're up by 4, and you got a Donovan Mitchell going crazy in the 4th, and he's bringing Utah back. Okay, what do you do? And if they just go to Jokic every single time, I'm gonna be a little disappointed. I get it; it makes sense because he's your best player. But I think this is a good time to get MPJ that experience because they're going to need him.
Yeah. And this is why I say, too, like it's very unlikely for young teams like the Phoenixes, like Denver a couple years ago, no matter where you place in the regular season, it's so unlikely that you're going to actually go all the way. Like maybe you find a way to get bounces and you wind up in the Western Conference Finals. But at the end of the day, you still have to beat a team 4 times. And I was watching what Phoenix game was I watching the other night? When they were on national TV. I forgot who they were playing. And I think it was either Reggie Miller or somebody was talking about it. And they were praising Phoenix and talking about how good they were. But Reggie was like, but here's the difference from regular season to playoffs. It's one night, we beat you, and then we're out of here. In the playoffs, it's you have to get me 4 times, and I get to break you down and study and watch every play and learn your sets. And it becomes more about at the end of in games 1 and 2, it might be about okay execution and or like okay they're just better running their stuff.
The
we didn't make plays. At the end of the day, games 4 and up, what the other team's running, and most likely already, but you're just not keying in on it. Depending on how many times you play them in the regular season, what they're running. Now it's just about who's more talented and who's just got the will to do it and the experience, the wherewithal. And
that's why it's so hard to beat LeBron.
Right. And that's where I think, MPJ, but like I relate that to a team like Phoenix, like Utah in a sense, even though they were there last year, so they have that experience. But you got to go through it over and over again. And I mean, MPJ, he's got to get that experience for sure, 100%. But it's going to be tough to see if he can get that in the regular season. I don't know if it'll be meaningful enough, but I'm curious to see how this stretch run goes.
Yeah. That's the most important thing, though. When it comes down to playoffs, it's about who do you have to close. Because going into the playoffs, I mean, we talked about it. There is only maybe 1 or 2 teams that you feel just as comfortable closing out in games as you did with Jamal and Jokic. And that was the Lakers with LeBron, because you have to, right? I mean, they did it last year. And Brooklyn. Those are the only 2 teams that you could say those 2 teams can close just as well as Denver, if not better. But Denver was right there with them. The Clippers have struggled. Kawhi and Paul George, they can do it. They've done it. But it's a little bit different with them. And I don't know if it's them two together, if that's the problem. I don't know. Maybe it was chemistry, but something late in games for them last year were weird. I don't know if that will be better this year. We'll see. That could be something that happens with Brooklyn too, because they haven't been playing with each other. So we'll see how that goes with as far as chemistry and being able to close games. But that's where it matters, right? You need that chemistry, not necessarily for the first quarter or the second quarter or the third. You need it for the fourth. You need it for those last 4 minutes, right? There's no, like, the the basketball is pretty simple, and there's a reason why guys like LeBron or Michael, they got to the finals and won so many, because they were able to close. They're the best player. They're the best player in the world. And when you have that guy, it's pretty much impossible to beat them unless you have an absolute ridiculous super team. It takes Steph, Clay, KD, and Draymond to beat a LeBron. You know, it takes Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan, and Kawhi Leonard to beat a LeBron. That's what it takes. Because they are so damn good, not just through 3.5 quarters, but in the end of game 2. As much crap as he gets for late game situations, he gets there. There's a reason, because he's damn good at it. So you have to be able to close. If you don't know how to close, if you don't have your guys to close, you won't get very far.
No, I agree. You mentioned Brooklyn though, and since we're here, because I mentioned that to you before the podcast, I kind of wanted to touch on that. I think their whole big three. And first off, with LaMarcus Aldridge, I think this happened after last podcast.
Yeah,
he retires.
Yeah.
Due to an irregular heartbeat, which is just. I mean, I wasn't happy with like what Brooklyn was doing. I mean, they're buying a championship. It's essentially what it is. But teams have done it before, so they're not the first ones to do it. But I feel bad for a guy like LaMarcus Aldridge, because he was just a really good player. You know, that's a guy that you want to see those type of guys get rings because they played really well. I know a lot of Portland fans weren't happy with how he left.
That Portland team was that was one of my favorite teams in that year. You had Dame, CJ, Wesley Matthews, Batum, and you had Aldridge. That team was awesome. But
before that too, I mean, with Aldridge, you had a young Brandon Roy.
Yeah.
Like, people forget how really good Brandon Roy was. Like, if it wasn't for his knee injuries, I mean, and
that team would have won a championship.
Maybe. But he retired, I think, just before Dame got there, maybe like a year or two.
Yeah, because they never played with each other, or maybe they played with each other that first year with Dame, but Brandon Roy wasn't the same guy because of, and that's what makes me so nervous about the Jamal injury, because you look back at that Brandon Roy, LaMarcus Aldridge team, they were in that window, they were like a year or two away, they were close, because Brandon Roy was young, Aldridge was starting to get towards his prime.
Greg Oden.
Well, Greg Oden never really resulted in anything, but yeah.
But like, he was, when they first drafted him.
Yeah.
I mean, he was highly touted.
Yeah.
You know, he was taken number 1 over Kevin Durant, right? They were the same draft.
Yeah, I wouldn't remind Portland fans of that. But they were right there, and then Brandon Roy goes down, and it changed everything. Now they ended up getting Dame because of it, because they were really bad the next year. But you know, then it turned into bad timing, where you had to wait 4 or 5 years for Dame to get to that point, but by then Aldridge was out. You know, so by the time Dame got up to, well, Dame time Lillard, Aldridge was gone, and it was too late. So then it just resulted in bad timing. And that's where I'm so nervous with the Nuggets and Jamal's injury. I just don't want it to turn into a Brandon Roy situation.
Well, I think Roy was he was skilled, but he was more of an explosive guard too. 6'6", 6'7", like, he had explosion to take it to the basket. I mean, listen, we never know. You never know how a person's body reacts to these things. Yeah. I mean, you had a guy like Derrick Rose who more explosive player, relied on that athleticism, but he just never was the same. I think Jamal will be fine. But again, I mean, you never know. But was Aldridge there that Rockets postseason year where Damian hit that
Yes.
shot?
Yep.
Was
Yeah.
that his last year in Portland? That might have been.
No, I don't think it was his last.
But that's what really like put Damian Lillard kind of on the map.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was early in his career when he hit that. You know, Mike Tirico calling it Dame. I was like, oh my god, this guy's real. And then of course you had the Paul George waving bye to him in OKC. Damian's such a good player. I hate it, but I think we'll be fine. But back to Brooklyn.
Brandon Roy did that in his 5th season too.
Really?
Yeah. Or fourth or fifth.
What was that? 2008, 2009?
It's not showing when exactly he injured it. Hold on, because he missed a whole year in 2011, 2012. But I don't know if he got injured. I think he got injured at the end of the 2009, 2010 season. He tried coming back the next season early, and then I think he hurt himself again. Oh, it says he retired. So yeah, I think he got hurt in 2009, 2010, which was his 4th season.
So it looks like
I'm reading Jamal's in his 4th or 5th.
He began to experience trouble in 2008 when he had to get a piece of cartilage removed from his left knee. By the middle of next season, he suffered a bone bruise, meniscus tear in his right knee, and underwent surgery. So yeah, it was around 2008, 2009. But he had a degenerative knee condition.
Okay.
I mean,
it's very different then.
Right. So it's, I don't think that's the case with Jamal. Hopefully it's not. I don't know the correlation between tearing an ACL and if that leads to that down the road. I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
I just looked up. So 6 NBA stars who recovered from their ACL. Danilo Gallinari, which I wouldn't say fully recovered. Danny Manning, don't remember. But Danny Manning was 22 when he tore his ACL. After, he was pretty much the same. Didn't get better. Mark Price, before 35 minutes per game, 17 points, 10 assists. After 29 minutes per game, 17 and 7. Zach LaVine did tear his ACL. And he's been great. He recovered from that.
Yeah. So you wouldn't even know. He's still explosive. It's all get out.
Well, that's why I forgot about it. Yeah, exactly. You forget kind of he did tear his ACL. So is it possible? Yeah. You can come back and you can come back just as good, if not better, like Zach LaVine. And Zach LaVine's an explosive guy. But he changed his game. He became more of a skilled player. He can hit shots, mid-range, 3-point. He's that type of guy. You don't see him, he can do it, but you don't see him going out there 360 dunks all over the place, right? So you can do it. It just makes me nervous because I think it's more of a 50% chance, really. I think there's a 50% chance that you come back just as good, if not better, and 50% chance of you just never being the same.
But I think it really comes down to the Nuggets really have to slow play this. And
you have to take
knowing Jamal, you have to explain to him, we know you want to get back, but think about right now the future, the long term, rather than the short term. Okay? So slow play this. If we have to hold you out the entire regular season and just bring you back maybe like the last month so you can get your legs underneath you, fine. Like, I'm fine with the Nuggets doing that next year. I'm already preparing myself that we're not going to have Jamal Murray for 85 to 90% of the season next year. I'm fine with that because I believe in this team enough and these players enough to know that even if we just make it to the playoffs, we can beat anybody. So they're at that point. Now, if this was last year or the year before, I'm not that confident. Now you have an established MVP, legitimate caliber player. We know what Jamal is. Granted, he still was going through his ups and downs, but I think he's turned a corner in his career with that type of stuff. I think. And then we know what MPJ is. I mean, his issue really isn't consistency. It's just getting experience. Like you roll the ball out and that's 20 and 10. At least it should be if he's just even giving 80% effort. So slow play it. That's the key here for Jamal. I know he'll want to get back as soon as possible. There's no rush. Honestly, there's no rush. Just take it easy. But getting back to Brooklyn, because we got way sidetracked there. They're reminding me of the Clippers, and a lot of national shows were talking about this week, that Brooklyn hasn't really played a lot together. I think they've maybe played 10 games, and that might be being generous. I think it was 7 with its Kyrie, Kevin, and James Harden. It's been hamstring issues and lower body issues for KD and James and Kyrie. Like, I don't want to make light of people's lives and situations because you never know what they're going through. But it seems like every other week he's got a personal matter to attend to. And again, I don't know what he's going through. There may be something really serious going on. And if that's the case, then okay. But like at a certain point, and I think Stephen A makes really great points when he brings this up about how much time Kyrie misses. Are you going to give them some of that money back? Because you're not playing full seasons. When's the last time Kyrie Irving has played a full season? I think the year before he played 20 games, 26 or 27 games. He didn't want to play in the bubble, which fine, whatever. That's your choice. But it's like, dude, you're missing week after week after week. Like, what is he at? I would venture to guess he probably hasn't played more than 35 games this year. I'm curious now to see how many games he's played. But all that to say that the Nets are they're treading that dangerous territory of the Clippers of last year, where Kawhi and Paul George sat every other primetime game, didn't play together that much, and obviously we know that rubbed some of the role players the wrong way. And then come playoff time, granted they were up 3-1 on the Nuggets, but teams with chemistry, you don't see them fold under that type of pressure. And they did. And they were the more talented team. So, granted, I don't think
they also didn't know how to close.
Exactly.
And we go back to that discussion. You have to know how to close. If you don't know how to close,
Right.
You're not going to get anywhere. And it doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter how talented your one-on-one guys are.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not just about those guys either closing. You need the Monte Morrises of the world to hit a big shot. You need JaMychal Green to hit a big shot. You need Paul Millsap to hit a big shot. Will Barton. You need those guys to hit a big shot once in a while. If they don't have chemistry with your with your star players, you're not. It's not going to work.
And that's what it's about. Like, you gain chemistry in those moments. And just being out there on the floor, it builds not only chemistry, but just chemistry and a bond with your teammates. Being in those moments. And Kawhi and Paul George were not in those moments for so many. And I get a lot of people say, well, they didn't really even want to be in the bubble in the first place. Well, why'd they show up then? Why'd you come? If you didn't want to be there, you didn't have to come. You chose to go. And then they wanted to leave midway through because of, the activism stuff. And okay, I get that. Then leave. If you want to leave, go. But they didn't. So there's no excuses. They still wanted to play. They ended up playing and they lost. So I think Brooklyn is towing that line. Now, do I think it'll happen to Brooklyn? No, because ultimately they have 3 dudes, and you can make an argument that 2 of those guys are legitimately top 5 players in the game right now. Kyrie, he's the top 10 talent in the game. Is he top 10? I don't know, but he's definitely worthy of that. He's definitely within the top 15 somewhere. And I'm looking at it. Kyrie's played 40 games, so I was close. I was 5 games. He has played more than 35 games. But
well, here's the thing. He's played 40. James Harden's only played 34 with the Nets, and Kevin Durant's only played 23. So, and like I said, it's not just about chemistry with those 3 guys together. It's, okay, well, the other guys have only gotten 23 games with KD. The other guys have only gotten 34 games with James Harden. The other guys have only gotten 40 games with Kyrie. That's a problem. You can't just those other guys are part of the team. You need those guys to have chemistry with your star players. But look, the problem with Brooklyn is they're going to go in the playoffs and they're going to play one-on-one a lot, ice the ball a lot. It's Kyrie's turn. It's KD's turn. It's James Harden's turn. They're going to do that a lot because they don't have chemistry with the other guys. Now, is that going to work? Probably. You'll probably get to the NBA Finals. But you're going to have to play a team like the Lakers who do have that chemistry with their other guys. Even though LeBron and AD have been out for a while, they did win a championship last year. A lot of those guys that are important to the team, the other guys, have gotten quite a bit of games with LeBron and AD already. So they're fine, right? And so when they get there, the Lakers are going to have way better chemistry. The Lakers have also gotten that rest too. At least AD and LeBron have gotten that rest, even though they were injured. So you're going to be even as far as that goes. Talent-wise, yeah, you might have more talent, but I would say the Lakers' others are better than your others. So it's not going to be a cakewalk for Brooklyn, even though they have 3 top 10 talented players in the league.
Well, and you also have to account for too. They disrupted their chemistry with DeAndre Jordan to bring in LaMarcus Aldridge. So now you have to reinsert that.
Mm-hmm.
They also brought in a guy like Blake Griffin. So now you're figuring that out.
Yep.
So
yeah, how many games has Blake played with those guys?
Well, right, and he even sat out, the last game too. He's not playing every night either. So it's like it's a dangerous line. Now they may have enough talent to overcome it, but it's walking a fine line.
Here's the
now,
thing.
do I think anybody in the East is going to beat them? No, I don't think Philly's like. And did you see this too? Can I just go on this tangent? Joel Embiid comes back. He's playing great. Awesome. But they beat Philly, or they beat Brooklyn the other night by 6, mind you, without Harden and KD. Now, they were up 20, granted, at one point, but Brooklyn made it a game down the stretch. And I think it was Tim Legler. He comes out after the game. Games like this is why Joel Embiid is the MVP. And I'm like, dude, like, you guys are so quick to discount Nikola. Like, they're doing everything they can to make sure it is given to anybody but Jokic. And, like, I hear James Harden still in the race. Joel Embiid still in the race. How can you still be in the race when you've missed 15 plus games?
Here's what I'll say, because there was a report that came out that that like 90 out of like 100 something votes, Jokic got 90 first place votes among writers or whatever.
Right.
So here's what I'll say. I think a lot of this is, well, it's probably going to be a landslide. Let's make a discussion out of this. I think that's what it is. What else is there to talk about other than the NFL draft at this point? Well, let's maybe pump up these other guys to make a story out of it, and so that way we can talk about it every day. Because other than that, it makes no sense. Even among writers, if 80% of them are picking Jokic as first place votes, and then if he doesn't get the first place votes, he's probably getting second place votes, which gives him more points. So Jokic, I think, will win it, but the narrative around in media among the national media is, well, these guys are still in the race, but at the end of the day, yeah, we'll probably pick Jokic. But they're not saying that because,
right.
Look, you need something to talk about. You need something to talk about, and
sure.
that's all they talk about. That's
but
all
I think part of it is like they actually do believe it. Like, you watch First Take, and it's who's the biggest threat to Jokic? Is it Embiid or is it Damian Lillard? And I'm like, okay, you could make a case for Damian, sure. But again, like, you have a guy in Damian Lillard who, like Jokic, has played every game. His team's now, Damian's a 6 seed. Jokic has his team as a 4 seed. Even Jamal being hurt now, and if the Nuggets continue to stay around somehow 4-3 or even move up, 2-3, I should say, does that not strengthen his case?
Well, and here's the thing: everyone says that with Embiid versus Jokic. Well, yeah, Jokic has played every game, but they're only a 4 seed. The Philly's a 1 seed. Well, let's look at their records.
There's 3 or 4 teams in the East that anybody respects.
Well, not only in that, but if you look at like the standings, if you look at the Nuggets and the 76ers record, the Nuggets are 3 games behind Philly. That's it. So does it really matter? Does like their records are pretty much the same, and the Nuggets have had a way tougher schedule than Philly, and their records are still pretty much the same. That says a lot right there.
Well,
So
at the end of the day, you have a guy who's not only played
that conversation or that argument is completely invalid.
right, but at the end of the day, too, I go back to you have a guy that's played every game and he's averaging nearly a triple double as a center in the NBA.
Yeah.
And he's not an athlete.
Oh, by the way, he's like
Still.
3% away from free throw percentage from averaging 50, 40, 90.
I just don't get it. I don't get it, man.
When's the last center that's done that? 50, 40, 90. He'd be the first. He'd be the first center to average 50, 40, 90.
Yeah.
Like it's hard for Steph to average 50, 40, 90.
It's insane. He's literally having a record-breaking season, a historic season, and I guarantee you if he was a Knick, if he was a Laker, if he was in Miami,
Here, let's play this game. How many 50, 40, 90 seasons do you think Kevin Durant has gotten?
1 or 2.
He's gotten 1. He's been close on a lot, but he's only gotten 1. As great of a scorer as he is and shooter as he is,
That's tough.
he's gotten 1. Okay, how many do you think Steph has gotten?
I would think 1 or 2.
He's gotten. Hold on, I'm looking at it right now. 1.
I mean, if there's any guy that I would think would do it, it would probably be him.
He's
because
gotten.
of his free throw percentage.
Steph Curry has gotten 1.
That's kind of insane
1.
to me.
And
Because
you know what?
think of how good he
He's
shoots.
probably not going to get it this year. He's 49% from the field this year. So he's 1% away this year. But he still probably won't get it. As great of a season as he is having, he's still not going to get a 50, 40, 90 season.
How many has James Harden had? I would say for him,
I don't
maybe
think
1.
I don't think he's gotten any. To be
Maybe
honest.
1.
No, he is not. The part that really gets guys is the free throw percentage. So when I look, that's the first place I look. So anytime they have a 90% from the free throw line, that's where I look at 3-point and then from the field. But that's the hardest, and that's where Jokic is missing it.
Yeah, and that's probably where he will miss it. To be honest with you, he'll probably be around 85, 86.
But all those 3 guys that we just looked at, they barely get up to 50% from the field. The 40% from 3 is actually the easiest part. From the field is the harder part.
Mm-hmm.
But for Jokic, he's 57% from the field. He's shooting 42 from 3.
Yeah.
So like, and then from the free throw line, it's gone down 85, 855. So, that's the part.
One of the biggest differences, and I'm not saying that Embiid doesn't do this, but Jokic is not only a great individual talent, he just makes every single player a notch better than they actually are. I don't know if Embiid raises all boats in the way that Jokic does.
Well,
that's all I'm saying.
Well, here's an example. Okay, how many games did Embiid miss? Like 15?
Let me check. I want to say he's missed at least. I would say.
If Jokic missed 15 games, what's their record in those 15 games?
Oh, I don't know if they win more than 5. I don't know if they win more than 5. The Sixers at least held water. Like they're
still the 1 seed. They were still the 1 seed, or like half a game or a game behind Brooklyn when he came back.
Joel Embiid has never played 82 games in his career.
Has he played 70?
No. 31 his first year, 16-17, because he was injured the first 2 years with a foot injury. 63 in year 2, 64, which was his most in year 3, 51, and he's at 38 right now.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, guys. Like, come on. I mean, again, he's at 30, 11, and 3. and he's 51 from the field, he's 38 from three, and he's 86% from the line.
So similar numbers. Jokic shooting better
But
though in every single category.
I just don't get how it's even compare. Like, they're both great individual talents.
Yeah, we're not saying Embiid sucks here.
But I feel like the thing that just separates Jokic is he can dominate the game in so many other ways offensively, and he just makes things so easy.
Oh, but what
and
about
he
his
makes his
defense?
teammates
Jokic
so much
sucks at
better.
defense, right? Jokic is a terrible defender. Oh yeah, wait, he's averaging
lie.
a steal and a half a game.
It is an absolute lie.
Some of the best hands in the league.
He's not great. Listen, he's not going to be an all defender, an
No.
all NBA team defender, but
But it's
we
not
say
James Harden. And James Harden won an MVP.
Every podcast, I feel like I bring it up. He makes 2 to 5 plays a game to where he strips a ball, deflects a ball. I think defensive rebounding.
Why
is
didn't we
key.
penalize James Harden? Why did he win an MVP when his defense is god awful?
Right.
We
But
see it.
It's just the narrative that still floats around him. It baffles my mind how we've gotten accustomed to Jokic's pass. It's not just a passing.
Mhm.
It's just him knowing what's gonna happen before it happens. He's seen it so many times that he just knows.
You know,
Whether it's him at the free throw line and he's looking to JaMychal Green, Paul Millsap, fill in the blank, down on the short corner, and it's a dunk. The other night,
LeBron has that LeBron effect of he just does that every night, or like Jordan, that's just normal.
Yes.
Jokic is already getting that, and he hasn't won one. It took those guys to win back to back first for for the writers to be like, oh, that's just normal. Jokic hasn't even won one yet, and it's that's just normal.
Well, and you have to watch. Like, I feel like people who don't watch the Nuggets enough, they don't understand. They feel like we're probably just being homers. But if you watch the Nuggets as much as we do, I probably watch in a normal year at the minimum 65 games of the 82 year. 65 to 70 at least, if not more. This year, I'd like to say I probably watched out of their 50 something games, 40, 45, if not more. He just every decision. There was, who did they play before Houston? But it was in that game to where he's backing
Miami.
Okay. He's backing, I think it was Olynyk, or maybe it was Jimmy Butler down. And the other guy comes to double, and PJ Dozier's in the opposite corner. And PJ Dozier cuts, and he just throws it. Doesn't look, he just throws it. And it's perfect. It's there. It's a layup. And I'm like, when did he see that? Like, when did he see it? I just have to know. So I literally slowed it down, and I kept rewinding. I'm like, when does he peek? When does he see it? And there's a split second to where he takes a dribble, and he looks.
Mhm.
And he sees PJ takes a step. And then he just knows. And he just goes to backing down, and just boop. And I'm just like, dude, what? How? Or his volleyball passes. We talked about it the other time. His arm just spins. It's just it's like a blender. And he just grabs the ball and he just does this. I watched the YouTube highlights of the Rockets Nuggets game on YouTube that NBA puts out every game. And it was the Rockets commentators. And I was like, oh, this will be fun just to see what they say. And they were just loving this. They were just loving Jokic. They were like, oh, it's not a joke for a joker. Like, he's so good.
Well, they got to get excited about something.
No, well, right. Yeah, it's really bad. And for them, I think they kind of have a soft spot in their hearts for the Nuggets because for years when Harden and Capella were there, they were just absolutely demolishing the Nuggets every game.
Me. I hate the Rockets still.
It was just, it's painful that they have to watch them. But every game, he just does these things. And, like, I've stopped going, like there's a few passes that he'll make, and I'm like, oh wow. Like, ooh, that was interesting. But he'll make these passes, and I'm just like, I've just gotten used to that. Like, he just does that.
There's only one guy in the league. There's only one other guy in the league that can make those passes. One. That's it.
Right. But
you don't see.
Jokic makes it look sexier.
Well, you know what's funny is I think Jokic does it way more than LeBron.
Oh, 100%.
He does it way more. But LeBron can do it. But but LeBron's the only other guy that can do it. No one else touches Jokic as far as how often he does it.
Well, I would disagree in that. I think guys like Rondo and CP3 are up there too, but I think
But
LeBron and
it's
Jokic
different
are
with
on.
their height. It's a
Right.
different level because they
It's
can see more. As a point guard, you don't see as much, and a lot of times LeBron and Jokic are making those passes out of the post too. So it's a little bit different. You don't
in the
see,
trees with arms around them,
yeah,
and
it's
every
different.
Jokic pass is a rope.
Hmm.
Everyone is boom in his hands.
Yeah.
I mean, rarely do you see him miss a pass. And there's times where he's good for 2 turnovers a game because he tries. He
Yeah.
tries some
Well,
stuff.
he's averaging 3.
Right. He tries. There's a few ones where he'll try a game. But I'm comfortable with that because I know 95% of the time that pass is going to be made. Now it's the other part of it is are they going to make the shot? So he just impacts the game in so many different ways. He makes his teammates so much better. And I think that's a great point you make. That's the litmus test. If Jokic missed as much time as Embiid missed, are the Nuggets even a playoff team?
No.
Like they may be hovering around 7 and 8 with Jamal and MPJ.
If Jokic wasn't on this team and they had MPJ and Jamal,
sad reality to think about.
they now here's the thing though, we don't know how good MPJ would be because I think with Jamal and Jokic healthy and them playing so often, I think MPJ, well, he literally gets pushed to the corner. So he's not developing as quickly as he possibly could, which is crazy to think about because he is damn good. And he's being limited? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like there MPJ has the talent to where he could have gone to Detroit and rookie year he could have averaged 20 a game like LeBron, Melo, KD. You know, year two he would have been averaging 20, anywhere between 25 and 28, and it would have gone up just like those guys. He has that talent level, but he's being limited because Jokic and Jamal have the ball 90% of the time to where he literally, the only time he gets the ball is when he's in the corner or when he cuts.
He's a specialist.
He has the talent of KD, LeBron, Melo, but he's a specialist on this team. So that's why it makes me so excited to where, okay, this is his opportunity, right? But so that's why I say, yeah, if Jokic wasn't on this team, if MPJ is at this level, then yes, they're at maybe an 8 seed. They're fighting for an 8 seed. Now, if you say, well, Jokic hasn't been on the team ever, and they happen to get MPJ maybe at 5 instead of 14, and they got Jamal.
If Jokic never came to this team, they may still have not seen the playoffs.
Sure, right, exactly. But okay, so let's say if he never got here, but they still got the players. Okay, obviously
if it's still Nurkic and Jamal.
Well, but let's say it's this group. So like Nurkic isn't even on this team. So if it's this group and Jokic was never here, but MPJ got fully developed, I would say they're probably a 6 seed because I'm thinking, well, MPJ at 22 years old is averaging 27 a game, right? Jamal has a bigger role, so he's probably averaging 24, 25 a game. Maybe his consistency is a little bit better, right? At a younger age. So that's where Jokic is so good. He got so good so fast to where it did limit to what Jamal and MPJ has gotten to, just because of that. So if he's never here, yeah, Jamal and MPJ are better. But are they a 2 seed last year? Are they a 4 seed this year? No.
The difference is they're a playoff team versus a potential championship contender.
There you go. Right.
That's what it takes you to.
Right.
And they go from a team that's about ball movement and passing to a team that's about ISO ball.
But
because let's be real, Jamal and MPJ, they're ISO players.
ISO players, yeah.
They need the ball.
You literally, but what's crazy is that's at peak, that's KD and Dame. So it's like, well,
Yeah,
I mean,
that's when you do the my player builder and it gives you
right.
their comparisons. That's like who you want them to be.
Yeah.
But at
They
the
have
end
the
of the day, they're going to be
capability
their
of
own
being.
players. I
Yeah.
was curious. Do you remember the year MPJ was drafted?
Yeah. Well, I remember I was watching the draft. I was going crazy because I was like, no way this guy falls. Remember,
Mhm.
I don't know if we were on air at KMET or not, but
No, it was 2018.
okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. But I remember saying, as like, Denver, move up. He's dropping. Trade up. Go up to. I'm pretty sure I said on Twitter.
Yeah.
Trade up to 8 or 9 because the Clippers are taking him. The
Well, the
Knicks
reason
might take
I
him.
ask
So
is because I just wanted
remember.
I wanted to go back to that draft and just to see how many guys are like, would I take over MPJ? And
Oh,
this was when you
he
look
would
at
have
this
he
draft.
would have been a top. He should have been number 1.
Yeah, well, this was a really good draft class though. When you go back and look at
Was
it,
that
but
Luka?
let's just go back through it and see. DeAndre Ayton was number 1, obviously.
Okay, so it was the Luka draft. Yeah.
Yes. Marvin Bagley III, no.
So he should have been picked right there.
Yeah. Then you had Luka. Would you take Luka over MPJ right now?
Yes. But see, the only reason why I say yes is because I've seen Luka's full potential. We haven't seen MPJ's full potential. So it's yes, but that could easily change.
I think MPJ probably has
but see,
higher ceiling.
here's the thing.
Now,
At the time, though, you take MPJ. A healthy MPJ, you take MPJ because that's Kevin Durant. We haven't seen a Luka, so we don't know. But that's Kevin Durant, so you take Kevin Durant.
I saw someone tweet this out last week. It was a Bleacher Report article, and they quoted MPJ. They asked him, like, if you had to describe what your game is like, what would it be? He said, it's like, I'm like a mix of Giannis and KD. And now when you look at it, it's like, well, that makes sense. He's got the shooting ability of, well, not to the degree of Kevin, but he's in that area. He may be a couple steps down, but he's in that area.
Hold on. He's definitely in that. I messed with my mic. He's definitely in that
He's
area.
in the neighborhood.
Well,
he's in the neighborhood.
Look at his shooting numbers. It's better than
he may not
KD
be in the biggest house, but he's in the neighborhood. And then when you look at Giannis, same size, similar length. Now he's not the athlete that Giannis is, but he's still a 6'10" unicorn galloping around out there. So it makes sense. But I'm looking at the 2018 draft. I don't know. It's tough to say if I take Luka now over MPJ. Jaren Jackson, really good player. I'm not taking him over MPJ. Trae Young, really nice player. Not taking him over MPJ. Mo Bamba, no, not even a question.
There's not
Wendell
a single other player that you take over MPJ other than Luka.
No. And even then, I personally am struggling with picking Luka. If you had to, like, if gun to your head, Steven, choose one or the other. Right now, I'd probably say Luka, but that's right now. I think if I had to choose long term, I think I'd probably go MPJ because I think we now know kind of where Luka's ceiling is at. And that's a really great ceiling, like potential Hall of Fame ceiling.
He's averaging in a down year. Like, he had a better year last year. In a down year, he's averaging 28, 7, and 8.
He's really good. He's a Hall of Fame caliber player.
Here's where it gets interesting. Is their shooting numbers? So
not even close.
So I would say because Luka is shooting 48% from the field, 36 from 3, only 73% from the free throw line.
He's not the best free throw shooter. He's solid, but he's not good. So his 3-point shooting and his free throw shooting are things to be.
Let's go to MPJ's. In only 31 minutes per game. By the way, Luka has never averaged lower than 32 minutes per game. So in 30 minutes per game, MPJ is averaging 17.6 points per game, 7.7 rebounds. Now the passing is the thing, right? Is like, okay, well, Luka is a way better playmaker. But 100%. You look at shooting percentage. MPJ is shooting 54% from the field, 40 nearly 43 from 3, and he's also, I guess he's at 77% from the free throw line too. But I feel like he's a better free throw shooter than that. He's closer to 80. I mean, last year he was 83%.
I mean, if you look at his per 36 right now, he's at 21 points per game, 63% from 2-point. He's only 77 right now from the free throw line. 54 from the field, 43% from 3. And he's 22.
Well, and all of this with him being limited, by the way.
He's a specialist. He's playing the role of specialist.
Yeah.
He is their not even Manu Ginobili. Manu Ginobili wasn't a specialist. He actually got to he is Bruce Bowen. All right, sit in the corner. When we pass it to you, shoot. Okay, that's what I'll do. He is Kyle Korver. He is pass it to that guy and shoot guy. That's your role. That's MPJ. Now with Jamal hurt, obviously that role changes, but that's what he's been relegated to these past 2 seasons is stand in the corner when we need a bucket, shoot the open 3. Don't take the ones where guys tickling your brain, but he's like contested. Yes. I love that shot.
I'm curious to see MPJ's numbers without Jamal because it's very high. Even when Jamal missed a few games early in the year, his numbers are pretty close to 25 a game without Jamal.
Mm-hmm.
So it does if MPJ got drafted by Sacramento, yeah, he'd be I would say he's probably 27, 28 points per game right now.
He's impressive. I don't know how we got to MPJ when we were talking about Brooklyn.
I don't know.
But I'm all for turning this into an MPJ Jokic love fest.
Like we said before, even when MPJ was drafted, he's the guy that wins them a championship. As far as maybe he doesn't win MVP, but he's the reason. Like, yeah, Jokic and Jamal can get them to the conference finals, but he's the reason why they win one. Now you just need all 3 of them healthy. But like I said, I think as long as Jamal comes back 100%, this is a good thing for Michael Porter. This is, at the end of the day, I think this is a good thing for the Nuggets. As long as Jamal comes back 100%.
You can turn it into a good thing.
You can turn it into a very good
these
thing.
Lemons into lemonade.
Because here's the thing.
If you play right.
MPJ is going to get the rest of this season, which is 20 games without Jamal. So he's going to get 20 games without Jamal this season. He's going to get at least 50 next season. So you're going to have essentially a full season without Jamal.
And at least 4 playoff games.
And at least 4 playoff games. So he's going to get all of that experience. And then when Jamal comes back, Jamal's not going to just right away come in and be like, oh, I'm the number 2 guy. So he's still going to be the number 2 guy even with Jamal back because Jamal's probably coming off the bench a little bit. So,
minute restriction.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you're going to be the number 2 guy and the main scorer on this team. I wouldn't be shocked halfway through the season by the All-Star break. You know what? I'll say it now. Nikola Jokic and MPJ are both All-Stars next year.
Oh, I knew you were going to do it.
Because here's why. Nikola, I think what's going to happen is by the start of next season, maybe not this season, we won't see it this season because they have their way of playing things, they have their rotations, they have their offense, it's set. But going into next season, I think MPJ will take a much bigger role as far as being the scorer of this team. MPJ will lead the team in scoring next season. I think he's hovering right around 25 to 27 points per game next season. I think Jokic is right around 22 to 24, averaging 8 to 10 assists, 10 to 12 rebounds. But his assist numbers are going to be just as high, if not higher, because he's going to take that role on of being the point guard, right? So he's going to be at 22, 10, and 8, and maybe 9 assists. And then MPJ is going to cover a lot of those points per game that's missing from Jamal. And he's going to be right around 25 and 12. So that's where, or 25 and 10. Maybe not 12, but 25 and 10. So if they're averaging those numbers and they're in the playoff race, yeah, they're both All-Stars. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. Michael Porter isn't inconsistent. So, it's not that Jamal thing issue where, oh, he's inconsistent, so he might not average 25. No, MPJ is probably the most consistent player on the Nuggets.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. With him, it's just if he plays bad, it's just a bad shooting night. You know, like he had one.
Yeah, but his
the
bad
game before
shooting
Golden
night is
State.
still 40% from three. So it's like, well, okay,
Yeah.
well.
Well, in the game before Golden State, I forget who did they play in that one, and they lost. Boston. He
Yeah.
couldn't buy a bucket
Yeah.
against Boston.
But what
and
he
then
still had. He still had.
it was a bad game though.
He still had 22 and 11.
Yeah, but he played awfully. What did he shoot? Like 6 of 19?
He was 9 of 23, 1 of
Yeah.
12 from 3. But he
Yeah.
still put up 22 and 11. So that's why I'm saying he's going to average 25 next year.
Well, I mean, it's easy. It's easy for him. That's what I'm saying. You roll the ball
So that's what
out
I'm
and
saying.
it's 20
They're
and
both
10.
All-Stars next year. He's going to lead them in points per game next year. He might lead them in points per
Why
game
not?
and rebounds per game.
Maybe. And Jokic would be fine with it.
Well, yeah, Jokic would be ecstatic about it.
He'd be fine with it.
Oh,
He's
I
like,
can
okay.
average 15 assists? Great.
It would be peak Jokic to win MVP and then the immediate next year not even average 20 points per game.
Yeah.
That'd be peak Jokic. And you know, he wouldn't care.
But
He'd be like,
but
yeah.
I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. And at the end of the day, again, there's a if Jamal Murray comes back healthy and 100%, and he's the guy that he comes back as eventually gets back to the guy that we saw in the bubble last year, or what he was doing here recently, then this is a best case scenario for the Nuggets. Because were they going to win a championship this year? No. Could they get to the finals? Maybe. But they weren't going to beat Brooklyn. Probably not, right? So this is best case scenario for the Nuggets, because as long as Jamal comes back 100% and he's the Jamal that we know, if that happens, this is best case scenario, because instead of having two guys that can close and be your two all-star caliber players, you're going to have three, and your third guy is probably going to be your best player.
Yeah, maybe your most.
Your most.
I don't know. I don't know if is he
maybe-
more skilled offensively than Jokic?
See, there's two things.
I don't know.
There's two things on the list for MPJ offensively. Is learn how to close. That's number one in my mind. Okay, that's the most important thing. Learn how to close. Number two, becoming more of a playmaker. I'm not saying average 6-7 assists a game. What does Kevin Durant average assists per game? 5, 4?
Oh, I'd say that's probably generous. Probably 2 or 3.
Okay, let's average 3 assists per game next season. I want if we're looking at goals for next season, MPJ is what, 22? So when Kevin Durant was 22 years old, he averaged 27, 6.8 rebounds, and 2.7 assists.
Hold on. When Kevin Durant was 22?
Yeah.
That is insane. That dude is so stupid good.
I mean, when he was, to be fair, when he was 21, he averaged 37 and 3. So
that is so stupid, dude. He's so freaking good.
But what I'm saying, well, who's to say MPJ can't do that? MPJ can do that.
Right. No, of course he can. I'm just saying, like,
going into next season, here's what I want MPJ to average. I want him to average 26 a night, 8 rebounds, and 2.5 assists. Shooting 50, 40, 80. That's what I want to see. If he does that, not only is he an all-star, they're probably a top 6 seed, even without Jamal, if he does that. Because you got Nikola Jokic probably averaging 24, 10, and 8.
just whatever Jokic feels like throwing up.
You got Kevin Durant and LeBron on the same team here. A less athletic LeBron. But you got Kevin Durant and LeBron on the same team.
Hey, IQ-wise, yeah.
That's a top 6 team in the West.
Oh,
way
easy.
better. That's a top.
Easy.
Well, that's the number 1 seed in the West if you got LeBron and KD on the team. But with Jokic and MPJ averaging those numbers, they're a top 6 team.
Yeah.
MPJ
I would go out. Good.
I would go out and get a legit backup point guard and start Monte. But yeah, that's a top 6 team. They're not a bad team. They're a really good team. It's just when you have all 3 of them, that's a championship team.
100%. It's 100% them.
But with Jamal's injury, it's gonna turn into going from Jokic 1, Jamal 2, MPJ 3 to I think MPJ 1, Jokic 2, Jamal 3.
Maybe.
That's his skill level. That's that. But again, let's learn how to close, and let's become more of a playmaker. Not saying let's become a playmaker, but let's get 2.5, 3 assists a game.
Listen, if MPJ starts throwing no-look passes, I'm gonna lose my mind. Listen, if he just learns how to, you're talking about stats. What I want him to improve on doesn't show up on the stat sheet. I just want him to catch. I just want him to learn how to catch. If he doesn't drop a ball next year, oh, he's my all-star. Just go on ahead, and make the team now. That's all I want him to be.
Jamal's been out. So these last 2 games, right? Miami and Houston.
Yep.
MPJ has 1 assist. That needs to rise.
Yeah. You said that's a surprise. That doesn't surprise me.
No, that needs to rise. Like that needs to go up.
Needs to rise. Okay.
That needs to go up. That needs to turn into. I want to see 2 assists at least in both those games.
Well, especially if he's in the 2-man game with Jokic, I mean, just dump that puppy off.
Yeah,
and
but they're not running. They're not running that. I want to start seeing some 2-man game with MPJ and Jokic. The problem is MPJ needs to get better ball handling. So in the offseason,
that too.
In the offseason, those are things to work on. You can't learn how to close in the offseason. So I'm not going to worry about that. In the offseason, get your ball handling up and work with Jokic. Go one-on-one with Jokic and just learn from the guy. Yeah. Pick his brain.
Go hang out with Jokic in Serbia with his horses.
Exactly. That's what MPJ. That's what he should do. They need to spend all. I want them to be bunk buddies all offseason.
That's my dream. I would love to be a bunk buddy with Jokic. I hope I'd get top bunk so I could just roll over and just be like, hey buddy, just peek over the bay. Hey, how you doing?
But that's what they should do. They should be bunk buddies the whole offseason.
Yeah.
Best friends.
Yeah.
They should be Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's who they need to be. They need to be best buddies. They might not be best buddies at first. They might hate each other at first. But they're going to be best buddies by the time Game 1 hits next season.
This team is so stinking good, and I really hope we get a championship out of this run because they really do have 3.
You know what sucks though?
Really good players.
Is that they're probably not going to hit that window next year because Jamal is just coming back. So it'll be the year after, but they need to figure out how to re-sign Aaron Gordon then. That's what sucks.
He's under contract for 1 more year.
The Aaron Gordon trade is kind of nullified here with Jamal's injury.
Well, I mean, if you're Aaron Gordon,
Unless you re-sign him.
And there's no guarantee because we thought Jeremy Grant was going to re-sign.
But Aaron Gordon's 25, 26? So
yeah, he's still very young.
It's not like you grab Chris Paul and then Jamal went down. That would have sucked.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's hard to say, but I think Aaron Gordon, this is a perfect fit for him.
Yeah.
And I think he had his chance to be the guy. Now he's in a spot where he can win a championship. Legitimately, he can. It's for him, is it just does the outside stuff matter? Being in the big markets, being on a Lakers, a brand
I think
team.
at 20, he'll be 26 or 27. I think getting one more really nice contract will probably matter. So that's where it makes. Now, here's the thing: the Nuggets have a lot of money tied up with Millsap. They released a lot of that money with Gary, and
Will's coming up this year too.
And Will, so you might lose Will because Will's gonna want a bigger role. I think Will can go to a team where he can average 15 to 20 a game. So I don't think Will is back. So you're gonna have to pay MPJ, and I would work on re-signing Aaron Gordon this offseason. And giving him giving him what Jeremy Grant got.
Well, I mean, we got to hope that the Kroenkes are willing to pay up for that.
Well, they were willing. They offered it to Grant.
Let's see who's a free agent after this. So,
this is a great.
I guess Will Barton has a player option.
He'll opt out. Aaron Gordon is making 18 to 20. So yeah, I go to Aaron Gordon and I say we want to offer you 3 years, $58 million. contract extension. We want to offer you 3 years, 58. I think he takes that because
Yeah.
he's not going to get more than that.
You could potentially lose Barton, Millsap, Jamichael, and JaVale.
I think you do everything you can to re-sign JaVale.
Well, Jamichael has a
unless-
player option. I think Jamichael probably opts in because he's going to get 7. I don't know if he'll find any more on that in the market. He's 31. Wow, Will Barton's already 30.
Yeah,
Will
that's why I let Will go.
maybe I think Will probably opts out just to see if there's anything because he'll get
who I would go,
13.
you know who I would go out and get? At least try to.
The second star member of the future TV show, Giannis and Nico. Giannis.
Wow. I would actually try and get either Conley or Kyle Lowry.
Interesting.
With Jamal out, and then when Jamal comes back, you put him at the 2.
Oh wow, Chris Paul has a player option this year. Chris Paul opt in.
Oh, he's opting in. Yeah, he's not getting 40 million from any other team. No, he's opting in. You take that
Oh,
money.
yeah, Mike is DeMar DeRozan. That's an interesting one if you lose a guy like Will Barton.
Yeah.
Otto Porter, Victor. He's probably going to sign to long term. Well, the Oladipo one's kind of interesting because he wanted to be in Miami, but now with his injury, did we ever get word on what his injury was?
Mm-mm.
Whatever happened to Victor Oladipo? I don't know. That's an interesting one. Goran Dragic. That's an interesting one too.
That could work too.
Schroeder, Hardaway Jr.
I go out and get a point guard. I go out and either retain. Lonzo's restricted. Do you offer Lonzo a big deal and force New Orleans to match? I do that.
There's going to be some interesting play. Well, Spencer Dinwiddie's got a player option. He probably opts in given his injury. There's going to be a few guys that
There's a lot of guards. You can go out and get. Because here's the thing: the benefit with Jamal, you need to go out and get another point guard, right? To help out while Jamal's out. Now you can go out and get a Conley, a Lowry, Alonzo Ball. Those are starter players, and then when Jamal is good to go, you can put Jamal at the 2. So you can move Jamal whenever he gets back. He's still a starter. These guys are starters, and you can start both of them. So you can go out and get a DeMar DeRozan and then start Jamal at point. You can go out and get a Kyle Lowry and then start Jamal at the 2. You can go out and get a Mike Conley and then start Jamal. So you have options. You got to remember, though, that's why maybe I signed Conley to a 1-year deal. Because you got to...
I think he probably ends up staying in Utah.
You gotta maybe. You have to remember you got to pay MPJ after this season. Or after next season. So you're probably going to extend him in the offseason. That obviously won't take effect till the year after. So you got to be careful. But and I don't know if they're willing to go into the luxury tax until Jamal is officially back. So and you see what Jamal is by that time. So I would say if you can sign a 1 or 2 year deal with Conley, Lowry, you won't be able to get a 1 or 2 year deal with Lonzo. Even like a Dennis Schroeder, a Goran Dragic, if you can get one of those guys, then that at least gives you time to wait on Jamal and then let MPJ become the player he will become. You know what? This Jamal injury isn't all bad. Now,
like I said,
it sucks for this year. It really sucks for this year, but this is great for MPJ. As long as Jamal comes back
into
100%.
lemonade. You know, you could turn these lemons into lemonade. The kind of the wings that I'm looking at, though. I mean, DeMar DeRozan, I think that's an interesting one.
Yeah, he's a lot
Tim
of money.
Hardaway Jr., I think that's an
You
interesting
gotta think
one.
about money, though. That's a lot of money.
Possibly, but I think that's an interesting option there.
I would love Tim Hardaway Jr.
Kelly Oubre, I think that's an interesting option.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think he's the offensive talent of Will Barton, but I mean, Derek Jones.
If you do that, then you still need to go out and get a point guard, so that's maybe cheaper. So maybe
You know who would really fit this team well that I was thinking about the other night when we were playing his team right now? Can you guess who I'm thinking about? It was one of the last few games. One of the last handful of games they played here at home.
A guard.
He's a forward.
Oh.
I don't think you're gonna get it. He's played here before.
Fournier.
No, Andre Iguodala.
Oh God, no.
He would be a great fit for this team.
Yeah,
I get
he
the
wouldn't-
history
he
and
wouldn't
everything
come to-
like
he wouldn't
that.
come to Denver.
But I mean, yeah, maybe not. But I think just a guy of his skill set, a guy who can defend, a guy off the second unit who can create, is I think an underrated playmaker. I think he would be actually a good fit in a team like this.
I'll pass.
Now, Nuggets Nation might not like it, but I was just thinking of that when we were playing Miami. I was like, man, Iguodala would be a really good fit on this
if
team.
I was bigger, I wouldn't mind punching Iguodala in the face. If I was bigger, though, he kicked my ass.
That's fair. At least you prefaced it with that. I mean, respect. I mean, at least, if I was bigger, I'd hit you hard. You probably knock me out still, but I'm getting one good one on your tooth. I'm chipping it. So take that to your sizer canine. Boom. Knocking it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
I'm gonna start tweeting that now. When I get angry at a player from another team, if I was bigger, I'd punch him in the face. So
Yeah.
But I'm glad we, I didn't think we were gonna get close to 2 hours today on Nuggets. I thought we were gonna hit some Broncos today, but we found a way to make it just practically Nuggets related. Is there anything you want to touch on Broncos related? I mean, we're 11 days from the draft. A lot of the mocks that we were talking about before the show today, one of them has Penei Sewell, the Oregon tackle.
Yeah, we can real quick go in order and just look at these. So let's start with Mel Kiper here. He released this on April 13th, so 5 days ago. Number
Good math.
1, no shocker, Trevor Lawrence. Number 2 is Zach Wilson, no shocker. At number 3, I do not get this. Now, I've been hearing apparently maybe this was a smoke screen, and they're going to take Justin Fields. But Mac Jones at 3. Miami apparently moves back up to 4, which makes the whole trade down completely ridiculous. And they take Kyle Pitts. Cincinnati, they take Penei Sewell. At 6, Atlanta moves down to grab Trey Lance. At 7, Detroit takes Jamar Chase. At 8, Carolina takes Devontae Smith. And then at 9, Denver would take Micah Parsons. Here's the thing about Micah Parsons, real quick before I get to the next one. I'll just go over all of them in order, and then we can talk about them.
Okay.
But Micah Parsons, I just don't see him as an inside linebacker. I don't know where he plays. The Broncos already have outside linebackers, so it makes it a little weird. He has the talent to move inside, I guess. I don't know. That's a weird one. Let's see. Daniel Jeremiah. It goes Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones as well. When did he post this? He posted this on April 6th. So Mac Jones at 3, Trey Lance at 4 to Atlanta, Kyle Pitts at 5 to Cincinnati, Miami taking Jamar Chase, Detroit taking Justin Fields, Rashawn Slater going at 8, and Penei Sewell going at 9 to Denver. And then Todd McShay, who posted this on April 5th, goes Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Kyle Pitts at 4, Jamar Chase at 5, Devontae Smith at 6, Jalen Waddle at 7, Patrick Surtain at 8, and then Denver taking Trey Lance. And then Mike Kliss, he put something out local here in Denver. He just did Denver's draft, and he has Justin Fields going at 9. So what do you think about that? 2 of the 4, the Broncos taking a quarterback. What do you think about if they have a shot at 9 to take Trey Lance or Justin Fields? Do you do it?
Well, I think we talked about it already. I think this is the perfect year to get a quarterback. Now, the question is, do you wait to see if one falls to you, or do you take the leap and try and get up so you can get the
Right.
guy that you may potentially love? I don't know where George Payton stands on.
You're gonna have to move up because I still think you have to move up, even though Carolina went and got Sam Darnold. There's other teams that still need a quarterback. So could the Giants move up, or could the Giants
Where are
move
they
up and take a quarterback? They are at 11.
Are they already giving up on
So
Daniel Jones?
I don't. I
He's only
mean,
been there, what, 2 years?
same draft class as Drew Lock though.
He didn't start his first year. He played what, like 5 games, 6 games?
No, I think he did. I don't know. I don't. I mean, do you believe in Daniel Jones or not?
Well,
Would you rather have Justin Fields? Would you rather have Trey Lance? Maybe.
Yeah.
They're kind of in the same boat as Denver with Drew Lock. What about New England? They need a quarterback. Now they're at 15, but we've seen it before. You can go from 27 to 10. Kansas City
just
did
got to
it.
give a lot.
You got to give up a lot, but hey, it worked out for Kansas City.
Still willing to mortgage all that?
You think Kansas City regrets that?
But they didn't have to move that far.
Yeah.
I think they moved from 17 to like 12, didn't they? 10? Wasn't that where Mahomes was taken? I mean, they weren't in the top 5. He was what? 12? He was like 10 to 12, I thought. And they were at like 17, I think. At least that's what I thought.
Look.
But no, I mean, listen, if you get your guy and it works, it doesn't matter how much you gave up at the end of the day. Like, if you're telling me, like, if you gave the option in Broncos country, you have to give up 3 first-round picks, 3 to 4, and like Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant, like that type of player, but you're going to get a future Hall of Fame quarterback.
They went from 27 to 10. 27 to 10. To get Mahomes.
That is a huge jump. What did they give up for?
They traded with the Bills. Man, can you imagine it? The Chiefs, they gave up their 27th pick, their 3rd round pick, 2018 first rounder. That's it.
No
What were the
way.
Bills doing? Is that it?
No way. 27 to 10, and they only gave up 3 picks, 2 of which were firsts? That can't be right.
That's all that one said. Hold on, let me look at a
That
different
is
one.
highway robbery. They stole a Hall of Fame quarterback for 2 first-round picks and a 3rd pick.
Yeah.
And a late first at that.
The 27th overall pick, a 2017 3rd, and a 2018 first. That's it. Now here's the thing with that
Way to go,
draft
Buffalo.
class. With that draft
Sure.
class, though, teams weren't as desperate to go get a quarterback. So this year, it is taking more because of all the hype around these quarterbacks.
Well, and Mahomes was like, he was
when they did it, everyone was like, "Why are they doing that?"
Yeah, he was the unpolished quarterback who had a big arm.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think you're probably gonna have will New England give up that much draft capital to move up?
It depends on where they want
I
to
don't
move
know. I mean, it depends on how desperate
Listen,
they are.
if I'm any team and New England wants to move up in the top 5, I'm adding an extra few picks in there just because it's New England
Right.
and they've dominated the league for years and we've had to watch you. Yeah, instead of 3 first-round picks, make that 4 and 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Jerks.
Here's what I'll say.
Especially if you're
Looking at Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft, if this is how the first 4 picks go, I'm trading up with Miami, or maybe not Miami, maybe Detroit. I'm trading up with whoever, Cincinnati at 5. I don't care who, and I don't care what it takes. I'm trading up to get Justin Fields. If it goes Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, and Trey Lance, 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm moving all the way up as far as I can to go get Justin Fields, because that means there's 1 quarterback left, and probably a lot of people think the second best.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not buying all this Justin Fields stuff. I'm just really not.
He's good.
I really think he's going to end up going high.
He's really good.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of. He just feels like the pick that everybody's kind of crapping on. His stock is, dropping. I just feel like that's just behind the stuff.
Yeah. I think San Fran takes him at 3.
Yeah, I think so too.
But
if they do take Mac Jones though,
yeah. Here's the thing though, Trey Lance is Trey Lance is tricky, but he has all of the talent to be really, really, really good. Like in 5 years, if you told me Trey Lance is the best quarterback out of those 5, I'd be like, yeah, I believe it because he has the talent.
Well,
I mean,
what's his issue? It's
here's
the
the
fact
thing.
that he didn't play last year. It's the fact that he's
Someone
coming
brought this
from
up.
an FCS school.
Yeah, so someone brought this up. So when
He's a project.
well, not necessarily. When Carson Wentz was in North Dakota State, he threw 10 interceptions that year he got drafted. Trey Lance 2 years ago as a sophomore threw 28 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He also ran for 1,100 yards and had 14 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. Well, he's a big quarterback too. He's like 6'3", 6'4".
Like, dude, he threw 0. And I don't care what you say about talent level. Carson Wentz threw 10.
Yeah, you still got to go out and do it, right?
Like, Carson Wentz went number 2 overall and nearly won MVP if he didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
And he threw 10 picks. Trey Lance threw 0. And by the way, he ran for nearly 1,200 yards and had, what is that, 42 total touchdowns, 28 passing, 14 rushing. Are you kidding me?
He's a dual threat. And
If any one of them is there, other than Mac Jones, I'm taking him in a heartbeat.
Right.
And I'm moving up to take him.
I think it was either Dan Orlovsky or one of those quarterback analysts that were breaking him down.
By the way, Dan Orlovsky is awesome.
And they were saying that with Trey Lance, one thing that people are really high on, yeah, he has talent, but it's the whiteboard stuff. Like he's really good
smart,
at the whiteboard and knowing things.
The numbers show you.
Like that.
He threw 0 picks.
Yeah, you like that stuff.
He's a
though.
smart
Like you want a
player.
quarterback who can know that.
Yeah.
The past couple of years, we've had quarterbacks where you've had to dumb down the playbooks.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that, they're dumb because,
now,
I mean, listen,
now
I don't know.
That's a knock on Justin Fields, by the way. That's been a knock where he's not as smart as Trevor Lawrence or Trey Lance.
Well, like picking up these
Zach
NFL
Wilson
systems,
gets a little bit of that too, but
it's tough, right? I mean, I can imagine it's probably super tough, but some quarterbacks are more able to process that quicker than others. And that's a huge thing in the NFL. How fast can you process the information in front of you? Like, if you think about it, as a quarterback, you have to, in the NFL, not only read the defense, snap the ball, and then if they're disguising, you have to read on the fly in 2 seconds and know where to go with the ball and place it accurately. Like, and in some games, quicker than that. Because some games you may not get 2 seconds. So, I don't know. I'd be happy with Trey Lance. I'd be happy with Justin Fields.
I'd be ecstatic for Trey Lance or Justin Fields. Look, here's the thing. If these quarterbacks were in last year's draft class, I think they go number 1 ahead of Joe Burrow. I think Trey Lance goes number 1. I think Zach Wilson goes number 1. I think Justin Fields goes number 1. They are that good.
Maybe. Joe Burrow had a really good year, though.
Joe Burrow had a great year. And maybe, okay, well, then they go 2. But it's like they're right there. There's an argument to make for, if they're in the year before that, they all go number 1. There are 4 number 1 draft picks in this draft class at quarterback. 4. Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. Those are 4 number 1 quarterback draft picks. And if you can get one at 9, holy crap.
Oh, and look too, like I heard this on the radio the other day. What was George Payton, one of his first, acts of service or attempted acts of service? To get rid of Drew Lock, to try and trade for Matthew Stafford. Yeah. That tells you that, and like, a lot of people buy into like, oh, well, he said nice things about Drew Lock. He says good things. He says all the right things. Well, he's not going to say this guy's a bum. Of course, like Drew Lock, there's nice things to like about Drew Lock.
You think it's smart for him to go out and say, "Hey, we're looking to move. We're looking to move Drew Lock. We just don't like him." Well, no, because you're sitting at pick 9. Yeah. Now every team behind you is like, "Well, we need to get ahead of Denver. They're taking quarterback."
Right. Yeah. You can't show your hand. Now, I think I think they're fine. Like if they have to go into the season with Drew Lock,
They're okay. With
okay,
it. Yeah.
fine, that's fine. Because I think this is really a tryout year for everybody.
Right.
Like for a couple of these guys, this is like your last ride. Like for Vic Fangio, you don't get to the playoffs this year. See ya, Pat Shurmur. If your offense isn't, top 15, top 12 at least, probably see ya. Okay, so I think they're fine if they need to go into there with Drew Lock. But listen, don't be fooled. Like they would rather have somebody else than Drew Lock. Now, credit to Drew Lock, it seems like he's doing everything behind the scenes to prove and get better and prove that he should be the guy. And I like that. I like that he's reaching out to Peyton Manning and trying to pick his brain and get better in any way possible. I like that, he's seemingly, according to Tim Patrick, the wide receiver, he's doing more things this year that he wasn't doing last year. And maybe that's showing up a little bit earlier and staying a little bit later, even though I think that whole saying's a little bit overblown of first guy in, last guy out. So, listen, I'm standing by it. I think you maybe feel the same way. If you don't, you can say it. But they have the talent to be a wild card team this year. We've went through the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
There's no games besides Kansas City and Baltimore, and maybe one more, maybe Cleveland, where it's like, okay, I don't know if they'll win that one. But outside of that, I would probably pick them right now on paper to win the game. I would have them as the favorites. Their defense should be a top 10 defense at the bare minimum next year. Their offense should be a top 12 offense at the bare minimum next year. Talent's never the issue. It's the intangible stuff. It's your quarterback not knowing how to play well and all the little intricacies of that position. And it's your head coach also not managing games very well at times. And so, I don't know. We'll see. But it all starts with the draft, which is coming up in 11 days. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
The last thing, Trey Lance ran a 4.5. Justin Fields ran a 4.4. Zach Wilson ran a 4.4. These guys, they don't just have the arm talent. Like, these guys are dual, all of them are dual threats. Even Trevor Lawrence, who ran a 4.7. Mac Jones ran a 4.8. So, but, like, these guys are, if you have a chance to get one of them, and you have to give up 3 firsts and a third, fine.
Do it.
These guys are really good. Now, if you take Micah Parsons, then, well.
Yeah. We'll see.
If you take Caleb Farley.
Yeah. I mean, he might be good, though. Well, they do need a cornerback. Well, now they don't. Actually, no, they don't. No, they don't. Bibbity bop boopity. Exactly. Bibbity, that's what I would say. Bibbity bop boopity. We have a new drop system. We find new ways to make the podcast better. So now we're going to be playing funny stuff. So I'm excited for that. All right. That's going to do it for us today. We thank you guys for hanging out with us. I'm glad that things are now feeling a little bit lighter. At first when Jamal got hurt, it was very depressing. We're down. Didn't even want to do the podcast anymore. No, that's a lie. But he just didn't know what to think. Now we're at least turning a corner. Helps that you have Nikola Jokic and Mike Porter Jr. All right. For Brandon Stoll on the other side, I'm Stephen Priest Jr. We will catch you guys next time on the Behind the Glass Sports Podcast.